those days that I feel the need to make something extremely clear, painfully clear. I'm neither telling you don't visit your doctor, nor am I telling you visit your doctor. It's not my job to tell you either of those things. That's not what I'm about. But I do want to talk today about trusting doctors on the Daily Summation from Curt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Friday the 4th of June of 2021. Thank you for everybody who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for joining me from there or anywhere else you happen to be able to get my little video or the audio from it. And today, again, we're going to talk about the concept of trusting doctors. And I'm going to read my notes as I generally do, as you've probably gotten used to me doing. And my notes start with this, and this will kind of give you an idea where this came from. No, Tim Pool, I'm not going to trust my physician. Doctors are equally likely to make mistakes as anyone else. Even second opinions are not necessarily enough. Let's be clear. As I've said already, I'm not telling people to not trust their doctor. And I want to add, I'm not telling them to trust their doctor either. I'm not giving you either piece of advice. What I am saying is, it's your choice. Whether any doctor or anybody else should be trusted is something people should decide for themselves. Simple answer, use your brain. Stop assuming anyone else should have dominion over you. And again, this is in any particular thing that you might want to talk about, whether it's your doctor or a lawyer or politicians or leaders at work or whatever it happens to be. Your position should be one of willingness to listen to people when it seems to you like it's a reasonable thing to do that thing. Remember this, if a doctor is wrong about what they assume to be correct about your health, what they come to believe about your health, and you listen to that doctor, there's a potential you could die from their failure. And let me just tell you something, they're indemnified typically against suit for you dying of that. Oh, I didn't realize that person had this particular thing or that particular thing. Nothing was symptomatic of that or whatever. And the result is that the person died of it. Oh, well, and that's the end of it. And I'm not trying here to blame doctors or to talk doctors down or anybody else for that matter. What I'm saying to you is your life is in your own hands. Don't assume that just because a doctor tells you, oh, this is what's going on, everything's fine. Let me just give you a story, okay? And I have to tell you that there may be more to this story than I'm aware of, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that. But this is what I recall having been the case. Years ago, I had a friend. It's been more than 10 years ago, I think now. He was rough around the edges, but a good guy, right? And he was a military veteran, I think Army, as I recall. And at some point, that guy started to find that I'll put it this way, I was going to say that his heart was racing, but in reality, I think what he noticed was he was having problems doing things without feeling dizzy and wanting to fall down, basically. So he went to a local hospital, and I'm not even going to tell you what kind of a hospital, though that makes a difference. So he went to a local hospital, and he said, okay, well, check me out and see, what's going on. And they realized that his heart was racing. Now, their answer to that initially was to try and use various kinds of chemicals, various kinds of pharmaceuticals to slow down his racing heart. This is a standard way to do business in that situation. Turns out, most of the time, that way of doing business, it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Because typically something causes the heart to race, okay? And he was in that situation. But here's what happened. They put him on various chemicals. It didn't really slow his heart down particularly. Was at a pretty high rate, 110 or better. He goes and he's in the hospital, right, with them trying to do their thing. They burn out the AV or SA or whichever it is node, and they put in a pacemaker. Bad plan. They should never have done that because they didn't know what was causing his heart to race in the first place, and the assumption that it was all in the heart was incorrect. Now comes the kicker. They find cancer on his aorta. I believe it was his aorta. That's what I recall to be the case. Find cancer on the aorta. Maybe that's what caused his heart to race. His body was realizing it wasn't supplying enough blood, so it kicked up the heart rate in order to increase the flow through the body to make it so that he was getting the blood that he needed. Now, it still wasn't able to do that sufficiently. But they found the cancer on the aorta, and I think they operated on that, but I'm not honestly certain. But here's the thing. Because, well, partially because. You can't say completely because it's not completely that way. Partially because it took longer than it should have to figure out that he had cancer. The cancer appears to have metastasized. And actually, I'm not sure whether it went one way or it went the other. It may have started in the lungs and gone to the aorta, or started in the aorta and gone to the lungs. I suppose the two could have been unrelated, but I very much doubt it. In fact, I'm pretty sure they said that they weren't unrelated. By the time they realized there was cancer in the lungs, it was pretty much the end of the line for that individual. Sad but true, sad reality. To this day, I miss having conversations with him, as goofy an individual as he could be at times. He was a great guy, and I got along with him pretty well, as rough as he was around the edges. Right? Well, he's no longer here. Now, how much longer would he have lived if he hadn't gotten the cancer? You know, there's no real good way to say that. He was getting older, he was getting on back when I knew him, and so he may not have lived very much longer. Here's my point. You have a responsibility to decide for yourself what you're going to listen to and what you're not, who you're going to pay attention to, who you're not. And that's just as true for your doctor as it is for any other individual with whom you deal on either a regular and ongoing basis or a periodic one. You have a responsibility to make that decision. That's on you. I'm not saying he could have known necessarily, hey, there's something more going on here, but I am saying that the problem is that he just basically placed his hands, or his body, his health, in the hands of a group of people who, in some regards, not necessarily in all, not necessarily even overall, I don't know for certain, and I'm not going to tell you because I'm not a medical professional how that all worked out and what would have changed if things had been done differently. But I know this. I know that that man ended up dying of the things that were wrong with him. Okay? And I don't know what particular thing actually killed him, and I don't know if it was the cancer that got him or something else. My suspicion is it was the cancer, and my suspicion is that the people who were working with him should have done some more research before they did at least the pacemaker and somewhat the pharmaceuticals to try and reduce his racing heart to, down the tachycardia, right? They should have been doing more research, I believe. That's my belief. Now again, who am I? Why should you listen to me? Well, you can argue that you don't have any real good reason to listen to me, and I wouldn't have any way to argue that. By the way, excuse my son in the background. He is home today. The point I'm making is this. Okay, don't trust me. And in fact, not only do I consider that totally fine, but I consider that entirely reasonable. My medical degrees, zero medical degrees, okay? I'm not asking you to trust me in that regard. But what I am saying to you is don't assume that just because somebody has a medical degree means that that individual is always going to get it right. Make them do the harder work. I know that it costs more to check a person for cancer here and there. I know that all of these things cost more. But the idea of burning out a node that controls the rhythm of the heart and installing an artificial pacemaker, right, a pacemaker into that situation, is not what probably should have happened in that scenario. Now again, I'm no doctor, don't take my advice. All I'm telling you is this: your life is in your hands. If you allow it to be placed in the hands of someone else and they fail you, that's not entirely their fault. You should be taking action and making sure that those people are acting appropriately before they ever even really get into the picture. Okay? All right. I'm about out of time. I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to say today. Look, I get that doctors are supposed to be the professionals, but you're the one who's responsible for your life. This has been the Daily Summation from Curt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Curt. Today is Friday the 4th of June of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Saturday the 5th of June of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's come on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. I enjoy doing the video, and I hope you enjoy watching the video. Remember that you can give me a positive Rumble on Rumble and a negative one if you choose to do so. You can also give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, like or dislike on YouTube. Remember that you can comment on either of those two platforms. I'm still working on getting my podcast back up and running, so for right now, you'll have a hard time finding me there for anything that's not older. Today's subject has been trusting doctors, and tomorrow we're going to talk about they'll usually take it. And I think you'll find that this is not too surprising a subject from me that you're going to be seeing. I hope that you're having a good day today. Hopefully everything's going well for you today. On Monday, I actually officially start a new position. What that means is it's going to be harder for me to get my video out. Hopefully I'll be able to do so anyway, and everything will go well where that's concerned. I hope you're having, as I say, a good day, and hopefully we'll see you again on tomorrow's Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Friday, the 4th of June of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Curt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Curt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Curt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Curt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Curt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Curt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.